Welcome back to the video, you guys. I am so happy you're here, and I cannot wait to give you an update. It is hard to believe, but it's month 3 coming to a close here of this muscle building phase I've been on. And boy, what a journey this has been. If you haven't seen any of my other videos regarding what I've been doing, go back on my YouTube. They're all there. I have several where I've talked about what I'm doing, how it's been going. And now I want to update you on what it's been like for 3 months of this. So let's get to it. So the first thing I want to talk about is my weight. I'm going to have Dan put on the screen here a shot of my weight graph from the last month or so. And what's been interesting about my weight is I've had several weight spikes this month. Some significant spikes. I mean, they felt significant to me for sure. And I understand what's happening. I could probably correlate some of those spikes with what I was eating or with the timing of what I was eating, that kind of thing. But I have to be really honest. Those still hit me like a ton of bricks, like a gut punch in the stomach kind of thing. And I think though that the difference now when those happen versus maybe before when they happened, now I know that the spike is going to come down. I know that because I've been through that. And each time it happens, it gets easier and easier from the emotional perspective, because I know I didn't gain 2.5 pounds overnight. I know I didn't. So I know it has something to do with retaining water or the timing, or maybe I had Chinese one night. Boy, I had no idea how Chinese food really affects me until I start tracking all this. So it's all good to know. That is still kind of interesting. But my overall trend from the beginning is up. I started at 128 and some change, and I'm now 131 and some change. So I'm exactly where I want to be. Have I been more than 131 in this month? Yes, I have, because of these spikes. But it is all settling in. So a couple takeaways from that. First thing is I am figuring out that what I'm eating, how I'm doing this is actually working pretty well for me. And I'll review what that is in just a second. But my weight is just trending the way I want it to trend, basically at the speed I want it to trend, 1 pound a month. 1/2 pound to 1 pound a month would be great. If it's a little bit more, that's okay. If it's a little bit less, that's okay. I'm kind of right there, bullseyeing that number. So what I'm doing is working. So I really feel great about that. But like I said, when you see the scale go up, I'm a human being too. I don't like to see that, but I can now logically think through it. And the biggest difference, and please listen to this, the biggest difference is I don't let that 20 seconds of emotion determine what I'm gonna do next. So it's not sitting with me to the point where I feel like I have to make up for it or something like that. That is the first thing that kicks in as a normal kind of reaction. And I'm not being reactionary to this. I am letting it happen. And every time I do that, every single time I just keep going and do what I have to do, it works itself out. So I think that's a great lesson for all of us, is that you have to trust this, whether it's building muscle or fat loss. You have to trust that the scale just spikes and it goes down and it spikes and it goes down, and that's what it does. And do not let those normal fluctuations of the scale change what you do. That's super important, regardless of whatever journey you're on. And just to point out too, and this maybe is just me, but if you think the scale moves, up and down and fluctuates a lot in fat loss, I feel like it's doing it even more right now with muscle gain. And maybe it's because I am playing with adding more food, and maybe that's part of it. But it is a roller coaster ride. I think I put in a post recently, my weight graph seems to be more like a heart rate monitor at times. And I think that's very true. But if you were to draw the line from the first day to the current day, the trend is up. How it got there is bizarre, but ultimately it's where I want it to be. So that's good. So I just wrote some notes so I don't forget to tell you anything. One thing I want to really put out there too, and I just did a podcast with Jordan about this topic of being honest with yourself. And I think this comes into play a lot here, because when I see the scale go up, I could just say, oh, I got to restrict. I've got to change what I do to make up for whatever. And that's totally not being honest with myself. I really need to just trust the process, be honest with what I am tracking, be honest with what I'm eating, being honest with sticking with the program. Honesty, and not bullshitting myself to do. And I think that's a huge takeaway for all of us for any journey. You guys, if we're not honest with ourselves, how are we ever going to reach our goals? I mean, think about that. We're not. We're not going to reach them. So honesty. Honesty is the best policy. We've heard that a million times, and that is the truth. So I'm trying to be super honest with you and super honest with me as I go through. So let's move on to the gym. Training. Training at the beginning of this phase was amazing. I had a couple great months of training. I noticed significant differences on several of my lifts throughout the course of a month. My weight was going up in a lot of things. Then I hit this wall. Really interestingly, I hit a wall where a couple weeks worth of training, really everything felt heavy. And I documented that a little bit on my Instagram stories, talked about how what felt light last week is now super heavy this week. And it was getting a little discouraging because it was happening over the course of a couple weeks. And I really couldn't pinpoint it. My best guess is there's been some stress going on and sleep hasn't been on point. I think that plays a much bigger role than even I want to think. But again, keep going. So what I did during those times where things weren't going as well, I dialed the weight back on what I was using, even though I had lifted more previously. I said, okay, it feels heavy as shit today. My form sucks. So let's just back down the weight and let's really bring up the intensity with technique. And that's what I've done. And sure enough, I pop out of that end too. I don't know, a week or so later, I go in for an upper body day and everything just flies up. And it's like, that's what I remember. So I had this little period, even with this surplus, of things in the gym just feeling like crap. But again, I'm being honest and I am saying, okay, how can I make the best of this? Instead of getting discouraged and said, what the hell, everything's ruined now. Nothing is ruined. It's just part of the process. Whether you're in a surplus, a calorie deficit, it doesn't matter. It's gonna happen. Dial it back, bring up the intensity via technique, really focusing on the movement and technique. And I progressed nicely. And one thing I guess I want to add too here is that my training in general has changed over the months. Program writing has changed purposefully. And I don't have as many exercises, but I have more volume within those exercises. And I, at the beginning of this, went into this thinking, oh, I used 50-pound dumbbells for a dumbbell bench press for 6 to 8 reps or 6 reps or something. I have now 10 to 12 reps. I'm just gonna pick up those 50s and go for it. No, that's not how it worked at all. I had to check my ego at the door and remember this really important thing. When I'm trying to build muscle, all out max strength every single week is not how that's gonna happen. I backed down the weight because my repetitions are going up and I'm bringing more intensity to it. And now, boy, I'm seeing a big difference. And a big difference with mindset and a big difference in results. And I think that's super important to understand. It's not just about lifting low rep and high weight or just about high rep and low weight. It's not about either or, it's about a combo of both. Every workout that I do. But I was trying to let my ego get in the way of the amount of weight I was using for 12 reps versus what I could use for 6 reps. You guys, that's twice as much. There's no way you're gonna use the same weight. There's no way. I had to kind of wrap my head around that and understand why that is, and understand that that is how I'm going to ultimately progress. And because of that shift in mindset, things are really changing in the gym. Some things still feel a little bit heavy, and I'm working on that, but basically I'm super happy with how things are going in the gym. Absolutely. Struggles. I think the biggest struggle I've had, especially this last month, and maybe this last month just in particular, is that I see the changes physically. So I'm filling out now. And I've put up a couple side-by-sides of me before, of what I kind of looked like before and what I look like currently. And I am totally filled out. I don't know how to describe it other than that. I have gained body fat. I can see that. I haven't gained significant body fat. I'm only up 3 pounds, but I haven't gained significant body fat. I do understand that as well. And I also understand that when you go through this process, you have to gain body fat. There's no way around it. It's just how you approach it that will determine if you're going to gain a crap ton of body fat or if you're going to gain just a little bit along the way. I am controlling my nutrition to the point where I'm gaining a little bit along the way. And I will tell you this, I'm noticing it. And sometimes I don't know how I feel about that until I look at side-by-side pictures and I see a little bit. I love that. I feel like my waist is filled out more. That feels funny to me. And I'll tell you for this reason. Belly fat and my belly have been a big trigger issue for me for 30 years. And so when I see the belly kind of getting bigger, that feels funny. But again, it feels funny for a few seconds. You know, I sit with that emotion and then I do not let that determine my next course of action. I just understand what's going on and I'm okay with it. But the thing that I've been struggling with the most, I think right now, is some of my clothes are fitting a little snugger now, which is no surprise. It's not that I can't wear any of those clothes anymore. It's just that they fit me differently. And things that tend to fit you tighter anyway, so, like jeans. Jeans in general, there's not a lot of give and take with jeans sometimes. And so I'm pushing the limit with jeans. And I don't feel like I am having to get them on and pull them on and suck it into button. It's nothing like that. So let me make that clear. I just notice a difference in how they fit. Where that feeling would have set me off years ago, because that was always the beginning of me coming back into the yo-yo dieting thing. That was my first signal, always. And I had no control over it back then. I didn't know what I was doing, so I didn't understand, but I do now. So I do understand what's going on. And I do understand that those clothes fitting a little more snugly now, or I don't know if that's a word, snugly, but the clothes fitting a little more snug to me now is okay. It's really okay. I never ever thought I would ever say that, but having them feel a little snug is okay. I had to wrap my head around that, I'll be really honest, but it's okay. I will say the one thing that I have loved the most from the physique change standpoint are my legs. I'm starting to see the change in shape. I don't see like these ripped muscles coming through. I don't know if I'll ever be to that point, but I see the shape changing. I don't know if the teardrop shape, I don't know if that's the right term, but I used to just see straight legs, and now I see a little bit more of a shape to them, and I can see muscle come through depending on how I stand or whatever. I see it. That to me is worth everything, because my legs were the part of me that I hated with a passion for almost my entire life. And I would work so hard to cover them up. Now I look at them and think, wow, they look strong. They really look strong. And my legs have gotten stronger, a lot stronger. So there's been a lot of good with this. There's been a lot of struggles with this and trying to wrap my head around it. But overall, this is an amazing experience. I love having the extra calories to play with. By the way, I'm still doing my shake on my higher calorie days. That has been working really, really well for me. I just got a bunch of extra bananas delivered to me, so I'm gonna put bananas in my shake now because someone said freeze them and put them in there. So, okay, I'm gonna give that a shot. But the shake thing works well for me because, like I said, it fills me up temporarily, but not so long that I am so full that I can't eat moving forward. And that brings me just to the last struggle that I've had, and this is more in the past 2 to 3 weeks. My stomach hasn't felt great, just in general. Not from this, but just in general. And I think that is stress related. I do. It feels like a nervous stomach. I don't know how to describe it other than a nervous stomach. And so that has made eating sometimes just difficult in general. I feel like I get a little hungry and I eat, and then my stomach feels like, ugh. It just doesn't feel good no matter what I eat. It didn't have anything to do with what I ate. So that's getting better. Things are kind of working themselves out that way. But that struggle with the stomach, and then the struggle just wrapping my head around clothes not fitting me the same way, those have been my 2 bigger struggles this past month. I told Jordan I am going to extend the period of time that I do this surplus. I was going to go for 4 months. I'm going to go a little longer because I feel like the first 1.5 to 2 months, I was trying to find my way, trying to find what works and feel it out. And I feel like I have that now. So I don't know how much longer I'm gonna go, but I am gonna keep this train running for just a little while longer. So there you have it. That's kind of the update for now. Month 3 in the books, heading into month 4. The holidays, smack dab in the middle of the holidays, which I think the timing couldn't be any better. Super happy overall with everything that's been going on. The education has been beyond helpful. And if you ever have any questions about this, or if you want to do it and have some questions on setting things up or whatever, please put them in the comments or send me a message. I'm always here to help you. So have a great day, everybody. And I got to go eat. It's time to go eat. Take care.